O que acende a sua vontade de começar algo? Tem uma faísca em você que te chama para empreender, investir, dar novos rumos para sua vida. E para todos os seus começos, você pode contar com Santander Select. Um banco mais pessoal, mais próximo, mais humano. Um time de especialistas com olhar atento para cada momento da sua vida. Porque você sabe, só quem já deu muitos passos está pronto para continuar começando. Santander Select. Começa em você, começa agora.
Hey guys, on the show today, we are going to be discussing politics, daily buzz lines on social media. We are honoring the author of Terror Strikes, Joseph M. Lenard. On the show today, guys, you want to tune in. It's going to be a heated one. Hey guys, this show is now on Amazon Music and Audible. That's right. Gonna want to check us out on Amazon Audible and Amazon Music. Great set of platforms. We are so honored and grateful to be part of the Amazon team. And we're honored that they are allowing us to be launched on those two major platforms. So thank you to our new friends here on Amazon Music and Audible for choosing the Patriot Angle podcasts. Thank you very much. A true honor to be part of the Amazon team, guys.
Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to another edition of the Patriot Angle Podcast. This is Unfiltered with Michael Gardner. Today's guest, is the author of Terror Strikes, Joseph M. Lenard, in the digital studio here, streaming live on Facebook, Twitch. Welcome, Joseph. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me, Michael. I greatly appreciate it. And it is indeed Joseph M. Lenard, because there is another Joseph Lenard author out there out of North Carolina, although I'm in Michigan in the U.S. So, the full name of the book is Terror Strikes, Coming Soon to a City Near You, because there are quite a few books out there called Terror Strikes.
Yeah, we see a lot of, we when we were actually doing our homework, so to speak, as a show, a content creator, we were looking at the many titles with different, types of authors. So it does have a lot of coverage, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yes, it does. And I'm trying to break into that. So it's difficult. As you might imagine.
Yeah. Folks.
There's a lot of noise out there.
What's that?
There's a lot of noise out there, and breaking through the noise to be one of the people that are true people in books that are truly set apart from all that other noise is a difficult task.
Oh, Joseph, you're not saying anything new. I mean, today's, market, just in the book industry, has reached historic highs in the last, I'd say, about 10, 20 years. I mean, books, even podcasting has gone to extreme limits. The amount of content, the amount of availability today that we didn't have 10, 20 years ago is extraordinary. It's crazy.
Exactly. So creating a wonderful niche like you have to grab hold of a worldwide audience is just amazing. And I commend you for your efforts.
Yeah, not a problem, sir. And we welcome you with open arms, and we do thank you for allowing us to have you on today's show with your busy schedule and everything else. Now, folks, we realize that you have actually been on, Joseph, the Author's Show, which is a podcast and a video on Roku and Amazon Fire, which is PSI-TV, Roku and Amazon Fire, WAAM Radio 1600 Michigan. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Those are wonderful. Locally, WAM 1600. I have been a long time caller involved in the local station of mine, and they've embraced me wholeheartedly, which is wonderful. And I indeed have been on the Author's Show. You can find that podcast, or the Author's Show is downloadable through Roku and Amazon Fire devices, as well as online. And the other one, PSI TV. I forget exact Professional Services Inc. I think PSI TV, which is really interesting. It not highlights not just authors, but entrepreneurs of all kinds, people, looking to break in, and they too, PSI TV is downloadable through Roku and Amazon Fire, and you can see a video version uncensored.
That's tremendous, tremendous type of stuff. Folks, if you want to get more information about Joseph here on the podcast, we'll plug his information in throughout the stream here and throughout the podcast episode, where you could find all of his, unfiltered, basically tremendous content and material. Now, Joseph, I want to get into a few topics here on the show. That, just the podcasting world, the mainstream, basically everybody has been talking about lately, with COVID and just everything that's going on in the political world. Now, I want to get into this one topic here, Joseph, and get your insights on this. Just happened the other day. We all know that the Florida mega governor, Ron DeSantis, has been signing bills to protect not only the parents, protect the children against this new form of transgenderness in schools. What's your insight on that, sir?
Well, first I want to mention, because you brought up the Wuhan virus, which, begs the question about the lockdowns, and the fact that it is a myth that terrorism disappeared during the Wuhan lockdowns. It's just the mainstream media focused on the Wuhan virus paranoia and hysteria for their ratings, even though that disease has a 99.8 survivability rate. We have vaccines now, which is a whole other discussion, to go down about vaccine choice. And I've been involved in vaccine choice rallies and trying to keep jobs for local nurses whose hospital systems wanted to fire them if they didn't get the vaccines. But we're supposed to be a nation about choice. But you mentioned DeSantis and the parental rights, and that's what it was. It was about parental rights, the constant intrusion of left-wing immorality and overreach, because they think your children belong to them. No, they are our children. They are not wards of the state. We have parental rights. Children do not have a full set of rights until they turn 18 for a reason. And it seems now the Wuhan lockdowns thankfully exposed a lot of that because of the Zoom lessons and parents finally seeing what was being taught to their children. And there's more left-wing radicalism and raunch being taught to our kids than the 3 R's as we knew them: reading, writing, arithmetic, let alone any history, which this book, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, deals in historical fact and fiction. It's faction. It's a blend. It covers places like Nevada and Toronto and London, England, Madrid, Spain, Tokyo. So this is an international flavored book because terrorism didn't just happen on 9/11 here in New York in the United States. It's happening all over the world. And, you know, they're not getting any of that history in the schools. Again, they want to teach radicalism and raunch.
Yeah, and you make a very, very valuable point there, Joseph. You know, where, you know, you said just in your book, you are basically giving out a lot of material and information in your book that even mainstream does not cover. You mentioned the terror attacks of 9/11 in New York City. You know, you've mentioned the indoctrination of children in schools, which I think is not only disgusting, but it's inappropriate for that age to learn.
Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's about age appropriateness. There is no business being talking about sexualization of children unless if you're a groomer or a pedophile yourself in grade school. I don't care if it's gay sex, straight sex, any sex at all should have no place whatsoever in our grade schools. That is for the parents to decide when it is age appropriate to have those discussions with their children.
You know, Joseph, you know, we're talking about this, you know, not only a sensitive, but a very, very tough subject right now, you know, in the school system all over the board here in the United States of America, you know, where current now press secretary, I call her Peppermint Patty, right?
Yeah,
Jen
exactly.
Psaki, Jen Psaki breaking down over the laws that these two, I call them mega governors, both in the state of Florida and now the state of Alabama, literally on board with Ron DeSantis and Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, literally tag teaming together to protect the children and the parents, the rights of the parents, right, to make these decisions, not the school boards. It has nothing to do with the teachers. It has to do with the parents. Jen Psaki breaking down the other day on all these different podcasts. She was on Pod Save America in the last 2 weeks. A lot of people are saying, could it be conflict of interest because she has maybe a network deal coming up on ABC?
MSNBC.
Yeah. Did you see that, Joseph?
Yes, she does have a deal coming up with MSNBC. But a governor that doesn't get the press that DeSantis gets is my favorite governor in all the land, is doing all these things too. And that is South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. I absolutely love that woman. And she did not lock her state down for 1 second. And I'm sorry, Ron DeSantis, you cannot say that. She did not have a mask mandate at all of any kind, way, shape, or form in her state, even for 1 second. And I'm sorry, again, Ron DeSantis can't say that. So a lot of the things he's doing now are to try to deflect from some of his bad past, actually. So he's not perfect. I like him, but he's not perfect.
Yeah, if I may interrupt, I do agree with you on a lot of terms. I think at first, in the very beginning, the original roots when COVID first hit our shores, back in late 2019 going into 2020, right? We were all unaware of this, right? We were all thrown at this new, world deadly disease. It was going to kill, upon millions and millions and millions. And the way they kind of portrayed it, it had, but there was a lot of, even misinformation thrown at it, Joseph, where, the
Absolutely.
mainstream media was leaving stuff on the side. And were they doing this on purpose, from the federal government? I think.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Dr. Fraudci, Fraudci.
Yeah, Dr. Doom.
Fraudci, yes. I mean, Trump should have fired him. And going back to Nome, hey, I'm all on board for Trump Nome 2024 ticket. But yeah, Dr. Fauci, what a fraud, what a fake, what a phony. And you only have to look into him a little bit to see he's always been a fraud. During the AIDS years, the people he got killed when we could have saved more than with that.
And, yeah, especially during Reagan, right? I mean,
exactly.
Attacking him on every level. There was a lot of similarities between the Reagan and the Trump administration with, the AIDS epidemic in the 80s versus when Trump was in office, with the beginning stages of COVID. So yes, I could understand and yes, definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. The two are very analogous, or whatever the proper pronunciation of that word is.
Yeah.
Being an author, I should know the right pronunciation, but
it's okay. We as great creators, content creators, authors, we are not perfect. The only person that's perfect is the Almighty upstairs.
Absolutely.
And amen to that. And I will say on every day of this podcast, I am spiritual, but I'm not a practice religion speaker, if I may say that. So I want to plug in yes, Joseph, I want to plug in a video of what we're basically kind of talking about, where Jen Psaki literally breaks down over this ruling about Ron DeSantis. Check this out.
Secretary Jen Psaki completely breaking down when asked her thoughts on Florida's parental rights and education bill.
I have to be careful about politics because of the Hatch Act police that are waiting outside in the bushes somewhere. I'm like going to get emotional about this issue because it's horrible. But it's like kids who are bullied, and like all these leaders are taking steps to hurt them and hurt their lives.
Joe Concha joins us live with his take. Joe, based upon that reaction, isn't it more likely than not that she never read that law in the first place?
Probably.
Yeah, Joseph, I don't think she did read the law.
Oh, there's no probability about it. Like Pelosi once said, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. They never read the laws. The lobbyists write the laws. They ram through the laws. They never read it. And this Psaki video is a perfect segue to the, I don't know if it's the Washington Post, Washington Times, the woman who was crying about being doxxed the other day when she's had a 10-year career of doxing conservatives. But this is all they can do. Emotional hysterics. They cannot win an argument on facts and rational thought. It's all emotional hysterics.
Yeah, political theater of what I call it. It's just political theater. And some of these politicians, these public figures, Joseph, they are the greatest actors in Washington today. The greatest set of actors,
Far better actors than Alec Baldwin, who shot somebody and still walking free, and others in the urban centers on these no cash bail garbage and letting out hardened rapists and murderers back out on our streets. They're roaming free while law-abiding citizens, they want to
don't get me
arrest.
started. Yeah, don't get me started with that story. They literally tucked that under the freaking rug. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But, Jen Psaki, I mean, she was on a series of different podcasts. We mentioned Pod Save America with her buddies there, John Favreau. And she was like, we're doing so much for this country and the economy. And, they were like, they were asking Jen Psaki there questioning if Joe Biden was going to Ukraine. And she's like, yup. And they're like, when is it going to happen? Oh, he's going. Give him an avatar, give him a Lamborghini, and he's on board. He has all the strength in the world. And after I heard that, I started laughing my ass off. I really,
yeah, this is the most comedic administration of my lifetime. And I'm about to turn 60 this year. So I've been through the Carter years, which was a laugh, and then the Barack O'Blunder years, which was equally pathetic. But Jimmy Carter's got to be glad now. He's now only the third worst president in the history of our nation.
Right. A lot of people are saying it, just quoting, right off of the Dan Bongino show, literally, and I agree with them too, Dan Bongino, labeling this Michael Savage as well. COVID is their great reset. That's their new agenda. And I strongly believe it,
Well, I'd like to talk about that for a minute. Conspiracy.
Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Conspiracy and conspiracy theory. There are various degrees. Now, if you and I both like baseball and decide to conspire to get tickets behind home plate at the next Detroit Tigers game, because I'm from the Detroit, Michigan area, that in and of itself, technically, in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary form of the terminology, is also a conspiracy. It's a benign conspiracy. Then you've got conspiracies to commit criminal intent, which we have our RICO laws. Then there's the whole other global New World Order type conspiracy, which isn't even behind closed doors anymore. Everybody still peddles these conspiracy theories like they're all wandering off to Dr. Evil's secret island and meeting in a dark and damp dungeon to discuss these things. Klaus Schwab has got a World Economic Forum website where it's all spelled out in English. Anyone can go see it. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact. And it's all not just even conspiracy. Some are directly conspiring, and others, it's a case of they are existing ruling elites. And the ruling elites will always want to maintain their power and control. So they act in conjunction with the Klaus Schwabs of the world to make sure they remain the ruling elites. And they don't care if the rest of us are peasants. The top ruling 1% will always fight for themselves to maintain power and control. And that's one of the main reasons why the terrorists and the fascocrats, as I call them, as well as the rhinos, want to destroy America. They can't let this freedom thing go. They can't let this free market stuff have a middle class. They want a top 1% and a 99% poverty peasant rate.
Joseph, you nailed it on the spot. I completely agree with every single thing you're saying, and it's really interesting now because, with everything going on, since 2020, which I believe, and I strongly believe that it was the most corrupted election in not only modern times, but American politics, right? The history of American politics.
Absolutely.
Literally, the election was a complete sham,
I absolutely agree.
Mail-in ballots were like a joke. I mean, how can you come out with something literally overnight? I mean, it's just like, where the hell is the verification process of mail-in ballots? Anybody could be Joe Hall or, Michael Doe or, you know what I mean? Just for examples. I mean, anybody can write a name on a ballot and mail it out.
Absolutely. And the left, the fascocrats, and the rhinos keep peddling this notion that we're a democracy. I'm sorry, we are not. We are a representative republic, and we need to repeal the 17th Amendment because that was one of the biggest nails in the coffin of our republic, bastardizing and completely destroying the intent of our founders, the originalist Federalists. And when people hear that term, they're often confused. Federalists, that doesn't mean, it means a small federal government with states' rights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, you're hearing live here on the show, streaming live on Facebook and Twitch, the author of Terror Strikes, Joseph M. Lenard. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these words. Don't touch the dial.
The fake news, big tech, and blue state liberals stole the election from President Trump. But here in Alabama, we're making sure that never happens. We have not and will not send absentee ballots to everyone and their brother. We banned corrupt curbside voting, and our results will always be audited. I'm KIV. The left is probably offended. So be it. As long as I'm governor, we're going to protect your vote.
All right, guys, back to the show of shows. Let's get it going. On the show today is the author of Terror Strikes, Joseph M. Lenard. For those who's just tuning in to the live feed, welcome. Get those comments in, guys. If you have any questions here for myself or Joseph, be happy to answer them. Now, Joseph, I want to get into this next topic here. Since we're talking about the radical left and, we got into the LGBTQ, I want to kind of spin off a little bit of just the latest article coming out of Breitbart, which I love. Follow them like tremendously. A lot of conservative, a lot of positive, not your typical, fake news, CNN crap. Where a story coming out of Florida where now they're saying the radical left goes bonkers after Florida votes to eliminate woke Disney's special tax district. I know you probably have a couple of comments on that topic there. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, we understand as capitalists and as Republicans and anti-taxers that every once in a while creating a temporary tax break for some people or certain locations sometimes makes sense to spur greater capitalism and more wealth creation. Because as Bono of U2, who used to be a major lefty, finally figured out during the George W. Bush years and his work in Africa with George W. Bush to create wealth, capitalism, free markets have lifted the most amount of people out of poverty in the history of any system on this planet, which goes back to what I said earlier, why they want to destroy the golden goose that lays the golden eggs, because they understand the notion that if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but you create him to be dependent on you rather than the biblical tenet of teaching a man to fish and he becomes self-sufficient. They made sense at one time to give Disney those breaks. It no longer does. And it's the same thing with the NFL and the MLB with the special carve-outs they've got in law. They are long overlasted. They're welcome. They are no longer entitled to these special breaks and privileges.
Oh, you make a good point there. A lot of people, we live off of a traditional type of base here in this country with a lot of different policies, both political and personal, right? And the left, they see that. They see that they can manipulate this new youth of a generation more easily than manipulating us, right? Older generations, right? Your baby boomers, right? Your 80s babies, right? Those are not as easily manipulated as this new generation now. You could say something and then, I mean, they're right on board with it. You know, they come right in like the little sheep that they are, you know.
Yeah.
And this story coming out of Florida, what a lot of people don't understand, that Disney's for years had a special tax district, almost as if they were their own little private little government where they were allowed to dictate their own laws. I mean, this is coming right out of, Disney's 1967 Reedy Creek district that was implemented in the late 60s, Joseph.
Yeah, no, at that time, I would have agreed with it. It made sense to drain all that swamp and to create what was created by Disney. And they even got an exemption to create their own nuclear power plant if they would have wanted it. But again, that was then, this is now. And it goes back to education. You were talking about manipulation. That's what we get with this participation trophy crowd. It's all about self-esteem over substance. Feel good about how stupid you are and react emotionally, hysterically over everything rather than using logic and reason. They don't understand what that is. They're taught what to think, not how to think for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, let's enlighten the listeners here a little bit. Folks, we're talking about like the whole Disney, Ron DeSantis story, which has been, pretty much trending all over social media. Mainstream has covered it, but mainstream really hasn't got into great detail. And I want to get into a little detail on this, guys, that, for those who are not familiar about this, this special district that Disney's had, since the late 60s, right? The Reedy Creek Improvement District, folks, is a 50-year-old special statute that not only shields Disney from massive amounts of tax obligations and regulations, the statute, folks, also allows Disney to essentially self-govern, right, their own ways. Now, it should be noted that Disney employs 38 lobbyists, folks, in the state of Florida, and has a strong hold on the state Democrats and establishment Republicans. Joseph, I mean, a lot of people, they don't see this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. There's a whole lot of people who, are unfortunately, like ostriches. And I go into this into my book, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. If you're an ostrich, doesn't mean burying your head between the rails of the tracks when you hear a train coming isn't going to stop the train from bowling you over. But a lot of people live their life clueless and oblivious to the political things that are going on around them that adversely affect them and their families. And thankfully, we're moving from this woke culture to an awakened culture. We're having a great awakening. People are finally starting to wake up and take the red pill, to use the Matrix analogy, which is a lot of fun because Elon Musk, and the creator of the Matrix, which is why the Matrix 4 movie is full of lefty loon messages, he and Elon had a Twitter war over the red pill memes, and he got all snowflakey pissed off and decided to make Matrix 4 a trans allegory film. So if you've not seen Matrix 4 yet, don't, unless if you could see it streaming for free.
And you mentioned Elon Musk. The latest on Elon Musk and Twitter coming out now that Twitter has literally declined the offer where Elon Musk had offered him not millions but billions of dollars just to purchase the company, and they turned it down.
Way above market level he offered. And I was just on Twitter earlier, and here it is. Sean Kreisman tweeted, just in, Elon Musk has secured a $46.5 billion financing commitment to acquire Twitter Inc. and is considering starting a tender offer, a legal move, for its outstanding shares and filing with the U.S. regulators showed. So he's serious.
Yeah.
And this goes, a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of your listeners may not know. Again, why I mentioned the Elon Musk and Matrix co-creator Dust Up started all this. It hit him personally, the cancel culture and the censorship and the shouting down of all things conservative. And Elon's not a conservative. He's a bit more libertarian, but he's at least not a full left-wing camp leftist loon snowflake, even though he's made most of his money off of government subsidies for electric vehicles, the left-wing wet dream.
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, I mean, Elon Musk wasn't born in the States here. He comes from South Africa. He basically, rose up through the ranks of life, built a lot of his businesses from scratch, and became that self-made billionaire, right? A lot of them have done that. But, like a lot of them are looked at like, oh, well, they have all this money and this and that. And, mommy and dad, it wasn't mommy and daddy. It was a self-made billionaire, such as Elon Musk, such as Donald Trump, all these billionaires. Yes, they might have had a little help, with, some trust and stuff like that given to them at a young age, but they adapted. They grew their growth after that. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Agree wholeheartedly.
I mean, let's just label it as it is, Joseph. Liberals, today, the liberal machine, all they want to do is cancel racism, sexism, equality, injustice, poverty, homelessness, suffering, and student debt loan. They want to do that, but they want to twist it in their own sick and demented narratives,
Absolutely. They can't define their positions like you can't defeat racism peddling CRT, which is pure racism. You can't defeat sexism by allowing trans, let's be honest, males beat up on women in women's sports. That's not an equality issue. That's, they bastardized the term equality. It's the socialist communist form of equality, equal outcomes they want. And that's not what our foundation is about. We are about equal opportunity and people like Elon putting in the time, the effort, and the hard work to accomplish things. They want to be handed everything on a silver platter.
Yeah, I agree. And in my eyes, a lot of it is what I've been calling it for a while now here on this show. It's a brazen abuse of power.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
And they want, I said this before, they want to kill the golden goose. They're too stupid to understand that you cannot have a socialist redistributive system if you don't have wealthy to steal from to redistribute. If everybody's poor, there's no money to redistribute anymore. They're all about this universal basic income garbage. Well, where do they think that money's going to come from? You can't print it out of thin air. Ask the Weimar Republic. Ask Venezuela in our lifetimes. These aren't old history lessons. Venezuela is screaming at us in our faces. Don't be stupid. But American leftists just refuse to learn anything.
You mentioned, a good point here, and I want to kind of piggyback off of that, sir. We're in a historic, a lot of people are calling it a Biden inflation, right?
Yeah.
Where the manufacturing cost in this country is hitting a 43 high. 43 high. That means the last 43 years, it hasn't hit that high in almost 50 years now. Under this
that's why I say
corrupted administration.
Yeah, that's why I say Jimmy Carter is so thankful for Barack Blunder and Dementia Joe for making him now the third worst president in American history. And this goes back to education. I hate to keep harping on that, but idiot AOC supposedly has an economics degree. She doesn't understand basic economics at all.
Oh, yeah, the bartender from Queens, New York. Yeah, she doesn't have any type of policy under that little thin belt of hers, where she talks about the Green New Deal and we have to go carbon fiber and this and that, and we're not gonna have a planet in less than 12. Oh, did you hear that? We're not gonna have a planet in less than 12 years.
Yeah,
from now.
they
The planet's
said that
gonna
what
explode.
4, 5, 6 years ago. So we only have like 5, 6, 7 years left. It's the same scam, the same con we went through. I'm, like I said, going to be 60. I don't remember if I said that on air or not.
Yeah, you have.
During the pre-show. But when I was in school, it was, oh my God, we're returning to an ice age. It's, blah, 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 blah. We've got to save the planet. And then it became global warming. Oh my God, we're all going to melt to death. We're all going to burn up. We got to save the planet. It's the same con over and over every 20 years, just reworked. And every new subsequent generation gets caught up in this nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible. A new Rasmussen poll coming out that most voters. Now, I don't know where the hell they got this poll, because some of these polls are inaccurate. That most voters are in favor of the federal government canceling student loan debt, and this was just the other day, Wednesday, that a survey presented the following. President Joe Biden has canceled more than $17 billion in student loan debt for more than 700,000 borrowers. Folks,
That
do
he
you
does
strongly
not have-
support this? Do you strongly support this, Joseph?
He does not have the constitutional authority to do that. And even if he had the constitutional authority to do that, it's dumb. What about all those who did it the right way? And anything the government subsidizes, everything the federal government touches goes to hell in a handbasket. All this really is the Bailout Left-Wing Professors Act. They want to have more kids go to college, and these universities have trillion-dollar endowments. If there's going to be any cancellation of debt, then that money should come out of the university's trust funds, because they gave them a degree that is worthless and way overpriced. And this goes back to the student loans. Universities have, colleges in general, price admissions have ballooned way above inflation, way like 10, 20 times inflation rate.
Sure.
Ever since they took over the government loan program. Because again, they made it easier to hand out other people's money. So the universities subsequently doubled and tripled and quadrupled the admissions charges, because everybody said, oh, there's free money out there. Well, there's no such thing as free money. It goes back to these left-wingers having no clue about economics whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back to, last year, around this time last year, in February of 2021, where Biden had a Biden town hall on CNN, and a questioner asked about canceling $50,000 worth of student debt. What will you make? When will you make that happen, Joe Biden? And I mean, his answer was like, we got a sound clip here we'll plug into the show, where his answer was basically given live on that CNN town hall. Check this out, guys. I mean, this is...
We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen. It depends on whether or not you go to a private university or public university. It depends on the idea that I say to a community, I'm going to forgive the debt, the billions of dollars of debt for people who have gone to Harvard and Yale and Penn and schools. My children, I went to a great school. I went to a state school. But is that going to be forgiven rather than use that money to provide for early education for young children who are
shut it off, Eric. Shut it off. He's not answering the question correctly.
Right. And it's all pandering. It's all Democrats know how to do. Identity politics, divide and conquer. Create this group and make promises for them. Create that group and make promises to buy their vote. And another group, what will we do to buy your vote? They have to buy votes. And the open borders is the other thing. And it's not just that even all illegal immigrants will vote illegally. They don't have to. They're violating the Constitution and the Census Act through the creation of the districts. They're loading up certain districts or certain states, certain areas with more people, thereby giving them more congressional districts and thereby more power. The exact opposite of what the 3/5 clause, as Frederick Douglass finally educated himself and found out, was to limit slaveholders' power. They're doing the reverse of that. They are emboldening, empowering leftist areas by creating more congressional districts that they know they can control.
Yeah, I completely agree, Joseph. I want to get a quick break in here, Joseph. We're gonna go into another topic here. I want to get into the speaking of unconstitutional with the mask mandates, a lot of companies literally ending it. I want to get into that and basically finish off the podcast today, guys, with the former Atlanta mayor turned away from Capitol Grill. You're going to want to hear that. We'll be right back after these short words, guys. Don't touch the dial.
Hulu has live TV? Hulu has live sports?
They do.
Hulu has live news?
That is correct. And Hulu also has
Live talent show.
It also has over 75 live channels.
Flip like cable, stream like Hulu. Time to have Hulu plus live TV.
All right, guys, we're back on the show. Joseph here. We're gonna close it out here with these last two topics here. I want to get into the one topic here we mentioned right before we took the break with unconstitutional abuse of power here with the mask mandates. What's your insight on that, sir?
Oh, absolutely. Well, before I go into that, I want to again thank you, Michael, for having me on. I greatly appreciate that. And yeah, there is no constitutional authority for federal mandates of those type whatsoever. It's even arguable in the states, individual under 10th Amendment states' rights and their constitutions, whether they have the ability to engage in such mandates. Like I said, Kristi Noem did none of that in her state at any point, at any time, for any reason, because she's a constitutionalist, like I am, like you are. And others succumb to the paranoia and the threat of mass death, which was unwarranted. We didn't know. We didn't even have that kind of panic during the Spanish flu that killed millions upon millions of people, a large percentage of the population at that time, because we still understood there's freedoms, and you have the freedom to engage in the vaccine or not, given the fact that we know myocarditis, heart problems are coming out of these vaccines, and all this other problems. I know somebody firsthand who had no heart problems, but because he was taking care of an elderly friend, he got the shot, and now he has myocarditis problems. And the same with the mask. If the mask protects you, which it don't, and we've known this for decades, you can go to a library, go to any library and get medical magazines on masks and how they work or they don't work. A cloth mask protects you against 0% of any virus of any kind. The common flu, the Spanish flu, the Wuhan virus, 0%. But yet they're peddling cloth masks. Even an N95 mask is called N95 because it only protects against 95% of viruses. And guess what? The Wuhan virus, which is actually a SARS variant, is not protected by an N95 mask. The particulate size is so small, it gets through an N95 mask. And Fauci knows this, but yet he still peddles this manure.
Well, he's been peddling this for other types of similar scenarios. We go back to the 80s with the AIDS epidemic. I mean, other hacks of doctors in the CDC. They've been peddling this for years. I mean, you go back to the 1920s with the Spanish flu. This is nothing new, Joseph. Social distancing, masking. Yeah. They tried this crap in the 20s. Everybody, after a while, they dropped the Kool-Aid effect, and they were like, what the hell with this? I mean,
yeah. Well, I want to add one thing real quick is I am not anti-vax. Yeah. I am vax choice. I agree that people, young kids, should get the polio vaccine, should get the chickenpox vaccine. And, the core vaxes that we used to get as a kid that are tried, are trued, and guess what? When you get the shot, you're 99.999 ad infinitum % protected against the disease. These vaxes don't protect you against the Wuhan virus. People are getting it left and right. They quote the breakthrough cases. You're not protected at all with these vaccines. So I am not anti-vax. I am vax choice. Now, there are other vaccines that they're peddling on kids. They're peddling far too many vaxes on young kids.
Oh, it's terrible. They're just destroying their little immune systems.
Yep.
By the time they're our age, in their 40s and through their 60s, their immune system is going to be shot.
Yep. Now,
shot.
Yeah, like the PAV vax. You can wait until you're an adult to get that. They shouldn't be peddling that on children. Just a small core amount of vaccines. Tuberculosis is making a comeback because some people aren't getting that vaccine. They think that's gone. It's not gone. That's a tried and true proven vaccine. It's worth getting. You need to be vaccinated against that. But some of this other garbage they're peddling can wait till later in life and is a matter of choice. Your own personal health care choices. You remember how the left love to peddle your body, your choice when it comes to abortion, which is complete bullshit because that's another life inside you. It has its own DNA, its own blood type, its own beating heart, its own functioning kidneys. It is not part of the woman's body. It is in the body. It is not of the body.
Yeah, try telling that to the liberal machine. The liberal view, right? Whoopi Goldberg and Joe Behar, they're worshiping the mask. They're like, we love it. We love it. We don't want the mask to go away. Check this out, guys.
The pandemic's not over. We're in the subvariant of a variant. Okay. That basically, if you get this, as long as you don't have an underlying conditions, leukemia or asthma, if you get this subvariant, that you might get a cold. Almost everyone's asymptomatic. If you don't live in Shanghai, you walk right through it. In the past, when you have a cold, you didn't destroy your life, sit at home for a week, not go on planes or wear a mask. But in this environment, with people dying to hold on to the pandemic a little bit longer, it looks as though colleges in this area, people indoors in Philadelphia, and for people on trains, mass transit, and planes for at least another couple of weeks, we're wearing masks.
Yeah, the CDC, it was supposed to end in, 2 or 3 days?
Yep.
And the CDC has said we're going to extend it for
Can't make our own decisions.
For 2 more
I had it on my calendar.
For 15 more days.
When you could fly without a mask.
Can we also add that it doesn't work, that the studies that show they aren't effective?
The CEOs of all the airlines said they have been begging with the CDC, please let us not wear masks anymore.
They circulate new air in like 3 seconds inside airplanes. You're exactly right. The CEOs have all said, please get rid of this. Yet, here it is extended for 15 days.
Some people are for it, though.
Oh, I think there's one. I think you might be referring to one. If you watch The View, one of the co-hosts there professed her desire, her love for the holy mask. Watch.
When it comes to mask mandates, they're there because people just aren't great people. And that's just the bottom line. Americans just aren't great to each other. We just aren't. And so when it comes to things like flying, the mask mandate is supposed to be lifted April 18th. I don't want to get on a plane with super spreaders. I don't want to get on a plane with 214 other people that are going to be breathing on me with their COVID breath. I don't want it. Yeah. I don't want it.
Oh, shut up, you hypocrites. Where were you about 3 years ago? I don't want it. I don't want the super spreaders.
She don't want it. Again, if your mask works, moron. If you truly believe masks work, cloth masks, which don't protect you against any virus, works, then wear it. Yeah. Shut the hell up and wear it. Quit trying to dictate to everybody else to wear a mask that isn't needed if your mask supposedly works.
Yeah. Guess what, Joseph? I'm not jumping on the bandwagon and drinking the Kool-Aid with these simple-minded idiots. I don't wear a mask. I've been around people with and without masks, and I haven't got COVID. You know?
Yep. I actually did catch COVID, and I took ivermectin and got over it in a few days. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal usually for 99.8% of the public to get Wuhan and just get over it. Not a big deal. But it goes back to science. They try to pretend to be the party of science. They are the party of pseudoscience. Only the science like climate change that gets government funding to say what we want you to say as a scientist, not what the actual scientists. They refuse to acknowledge the science of basic biology and XXXY chromosomes. Yeah. The mask science is in. We've known it for over 100 years. They refuse to acknowledge the science. They are all about power, control, and controlling people through emotional hysterics.
And it really is a shame. It's a shame, you know, like where we become as a society, you know, about this mask issue, about plain and simple. It's all about population control. I mean, when will the people finally understand that?
Yeah, again, it's not a conspiracy theory. You can see their writings. They say it. You just have to read it.
Yeah. And then, you know, they kind of close it out in the show here. Former Atlanta mayor here, which is, I seen this story buzzing the social media world and everything else, where former mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms put out to social media that she felt that she was kicked out of this 5-star restaurant and she was playing the freaking race card. She's like, oh, they kicked me out because I'm a black woman. and I was wearing leggings, and they said that's inappropriate. Well, yeah, it's a 5-star restaurant. You gotta, did you hear that, Joseph? She said,
that's one I hadn't heard of even.
Yeah, she said that because it surrounds a mall, and she was wearing a mall type of clothing, dress code. They're in a mall. How come they didn't honor my leggings? Well, I mean, you're in a 5-star restaurant. If the 5-star restaurant, Capital Grill, which is an affiliate restaurant, they're all over the country. They're chain restaurants.
Oh, they're expensive. They're expensive, yeah. And again, I bet she wanted to go in there and use taxpayer money to buy her meal too.
Yeah. She said that they wouldn't allow her because they turned her away because of the leggings.
Right. They're a private business. They're allowed to have a dress code.
They're allowed, any business, big or small, has the obligation in their business practices to turn away anybody. It has nothing to do with if you're a politician, a law enforcement agent, a federal agent, a federal employee, a private citizen. They have the right to turn away anybody. Just because you're Keisha Lance Bottoms, the former Atlanta mayor, doesn't necessarily mean you have special privileges. Folks, check this out here, and we're going to close it out on the show.
Former mayor of Atlanta. I mean, she was just the damn mayor. Keisha Lance Bottoms. She was told she could not enter and be waited on at an establishment because she had on leggings. Okay. There's a lot to this story. Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms has called out Capital Grill after she said she was turned away from the restaurant for wearing leggings. She said, and I quote, "I was just turned away at Capital Grill at Perimeter Mall because I have on leggings," she tweeted Friday. When someone pointed out that the establishment has a dress code, Bottoms said it was odd that the restaurant would not allow what she called mall attire when they were located at the mall.
All right, first of all, they're not located at the mall. They're not located in the mall. They are around that perimeter of the mall. I happen to live in Metro Atlanta, Joseph, and I can tell you, I know that restaurant very well. Okay, it is on the perimeter. They call it the perimeter mall because it sets a perimeter around North Atlanta. Okay, they turned her away because of a dress code. They didn't turn her away because she's black and, this and that. They turned her away because she was not honoring their dress code.
No, I'm glad you said that. That's the point. This is actually progress. This is a step up. They didn't cry racism this time. That's a miracle.
Yeah.
They always cry racism. What?
Yeah.
They obviously understand that's not getting the traction it used to. So they're moving on to these other moronic arguments.
Yeah, one giant step, not only for mankind, but one giant step leap toward the positive direction of fake news, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're going to close it out here, Joseph. I thank you for coming on the show. Remember, guys, if you want to hear any content, if you want to learn a little bit more about Joseph M. Lenard here, check out his book, Terror Strikes, doing phenomenal. You can pick it up all over the place, including Amazon.com, Walmart, Target, anywhere that sells books pretty much. You can also check out his website, terrorstrikes.info, or www.terrorstrikes.info/international sales. And I'm told that you also have a
yeah, I have an author website also, josephmleonard.us. And again, it's Leonard, but there's no O in it. It looks like Lenard, but it's not French. It's actually some Polish thing. One of these years, I'll have to go through Ancestry.com and find out what that derived from.
Yeah, it's been great having you, Joseph. It's been great, shooting the shit with you about politics. Love to have you on the show in future podcast episodes. If that's okay with you, I'd love to get into some other topics.
I'd absolutely love to come back. And again, thank you so much, Michael, for having me. It's great to be on the Patriot Angle podcast, Unfiltered, a great podcast. And I'm very honored to now have been part of it.
And we're truly honored to have you, sir. It's been great. Thank you very much. Remember, guys, if you want to hear more of our episodes, please like and follow us. We are on a lot of the majority of the big podcast platforms, such as Spotify, Google, Apple. We are now on Amazon Music as well as Audible. We have a free section on the Audible, not charging you a dime. So you can get all the episodes on the Audible app and website. Just search the Patriot Angle podcast. We are also featured on Amazon's Alexa. Just say, hey, Alexa, play the Patriot Angle podcast, and we will pop right up. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and remember to follow us everywhere.
You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle podcast. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon Music, and Audible. Also streaming live on Twitch. Remember to follow and like us, guys, for unfiltered, uncensored, raw content. Also, please head over to www.patriotanglepodcast.com for all your exclusive Patriot Angle podcast content and material, as well as the merchandise website, www.patriotunfiltered.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.